Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.
I'm Robert Caduto, and today on My Global Mind, I'm speaking with instrumental guitarist Andy Wood about the release of his new album, Charisma, that comes out August 9th. Andy, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, it's great to be here, Robert. Is the audio and everything coming through good for you?
Yeah, sounds great. Perfect.
Great.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thanks.
I'm loving the new album. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, man. It's a lot of emotion went into that one. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of labor of love too, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah, for sure. It was any record really is. I think it's given that anybody that's passionate about what we do, they're all gonna every artist can be like, yeah, a lot went into it, labor of love, and use all the catchphrases, right? I guess to clarify my perspective, and not to be a downer, but to clarify my perspective, this record, I lost my granddad and my dad both
Oh,
during
wow.
the process of making this record. This was also the record that I started during COVID, and like it's a weighty, emotional kind of record, and that aspect is very a bit therapeutic for me in those times.
Yeah, getting it out, right. No, you're a tremendous guitar player, and your playing style is quite unique. You're blending blues, R&B, country, rock with an ethereal feel. It brings it all together in like more of a rock format. Tell me about the freedom to express yourself the way you like and how you like.
Yeah, I think my background is I'm a bluegrass mandolin player.
Okay.
That's where I grew up playing and learning Sam Bush and Bela Fleck and
Yeah.
Tone Rock stuff. And then I got into chicken picking via
Yep.
Brent Mason and John Jorgensen and Jimmy Olander and guys like that. And then from there I got into, my gateway drug into rock stuff was Steve Morse because of the
Okay.
Dixie Dregs. Yeah, right. It makes sense, right? Like it was like all like the Dregs had that fiddle tuning kind of thing and some
Yep.
other stuff blending with fusion and rock, and of course Van Halen and all that stuff. So that's like my little background on how I got to where I am with my voice, like how I went down the musical buffet of life and grabbed my things that made my thing me, right? Um, for me and my perspective, I think the beautiful thing about instrumental music is that it is this direct format of emotion, right? And I think it's funny because it's like, yeah, I would say my stuff is rock. Like if I didn't know, I would be like, yeah, this is rock. But I have so many influences from film score guys, piano players,
Yeah.
even like Pavarotti. It's like vocalists that opera and stuff like that. The beautiful thing, like when you listen to a really great Chick Corea or George Benson or
Mhm.
anything that's instrumental, there's not a filter of what you're supposed to feel. Okay. I love country music. I listen to like Merle Haggard. If we make it through December, he's telling me what I'm supposed to feel. The lyrics are the story, the emotion. They tell you that, hey, if I make it through December, my finances are terrible. I can't provide Christmas for my little girls. That's the Haggard thing. And he tells you your emotions.
Right.
With instrumental music, it's kind of beautiful because you don't have that preconceived emotion coming at you in lyrical format. Like you and me and five other people, whether they play music or not, could listen to Jeff Beck and somebody could say it sounds beautiful like a romance novel, and somebody else could say, man, it sounds like heartbreak and defeat. It's like there's all those room for interpretation, which I think is really amazing and what keeps me hooked into instrumental music just in general, right? Like it's
Yeah.
nobody's telling you what the story is. It's kind of choose your own adventure, right? And so that's always like this overarching thing surrounding why I do what I do, and I think a lot of us do what we do.
Is evoking the feeling from an instrumental song the hardest part of what you have to do? Or do you let that in the mind of the listener?
That's in the mind of the listener, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I know what I was feeling when I wrote some of these tunes. And, a lot of it's sadness, a lot
Wow.
of dark stuff. But if the listener hears something and walks away with something else other than what I was feeling, I think that's amazing. That's a win. There's definitely some points of humor on the record, and there's some cheeky fun things. But in general, the record is a weighty kind of record. There's a lot of ballads, there's a lot of minor key stuff. It's not metal, right? I think
Yeah.
one of the things that when we hear modern instrumental rock in a minor key, it tends to be metal, like just the nature of it. Like everybody's playing seven strings and eight strings.
Mhm.
My stuff is not really, it is dark and it is moody, but it's not metal, but it's also not easy listening. It's a, kind of its own thing.
Right.
And I think that is what's important about a listener. It's like
You
it's the story for the listener to choose the how they feel when they listen to it. And maybe that can evolve. Maybe on Wednesday they feel one way and they listen to it a month later and they feel another way when they hear it. It's kind of the point.
I was listening to it a lot on the beach, and it was very ethereal. It was sometimes even yacht rocky, parts of it was. So it was really, I don't know if that's good or bad to say nowadays,
No, I
but
mean, like it's funny that you use the term yacht rock. As a
I heard
guitarist,
phrasing like a lot of old songs, like shit, I can't remember the guy's name. Sail Away. Remember that song?
oh, Christopher Cross.
Right. I heard a little bit of that, and stuff like that.
So that makes sense because if you look at the guys that played on a lot of those records, Eric Johnson worked for Christopher Cross,
I didn't know.
and Steve Lukather played with Toto and all those sessions, like the Lionel Richie sessions and stuff like that.
I didn't
I'm
know.
such a fan of that, like West Coast
Yes.
super studio player, like Steve Lukather and Larry Carlton and
Mhm.
Jake Graydon and Landau and all those guys. So, like for you to hear maybe like Storms and Sparrows and hear that
That was
kind
my
of
favorite song.
tone, yeah, it's like that definitely harkens back to the Lukather Landau thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I wear it on my sleeve.
It's so funny because I guess I was in a beach vibe, and that's the West Coast, California. That's what was rolling through my head at the time I was listening to it. You allude to Pavarotti and some great singers. How much time do you spend studying their voices and how to interpret that on the guitar to bring it to instrumental because you have tremendous sense of melody.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. I'm not being cavalier with that response. Like it really means a lot to be a guitar player for somebody to say you have a great sense of melody, right? It's easy to get lost in the arms race of
Yeah,
chops.
exactly.
So it means a lot. I really, really love great singers. I've been listening this week, last week to a lot of Sam Cooke and trying to just evoke the phrasing. A lot of times, guitarists, not even guitarists, instrumentalists, if here's the beat, like
Yep.
everything's really square on the beat, a start and a stop. And singers, they blur the metric line when you have a phrase of music and a measure of music. They're in and out and kind of weaving and playing with the tempo because the voice is such a natural vehicle for musical expression. So I really love that, and I spend a lot of time trying to mimic that thing. A couple of the moments, even in the past 5 years or so, Chris Stapleton doing Tennessee Whiskey. That's obviously one that you hear in every karaoke bar in America. But I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to phrase my lead lines like Chris was singing it. And another great one that I spent a lot of time on was the Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper song from
Oh
A
yeah, my
Star
wife
Is
loves that
Born.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
like I
wife
spent a
loves
lot of
that.
time just, and it's not really trying to make an elaborate arrangement. It's just trying to like milk the notes
Yeah,
into, not to sound like a freaking tie-dyed t-shirt or a bumper sticker or something, but like, it's like I want to play music. I don't want to play guitar. Guitar is just a vehicle.
Yeah. Yep.
right? Like that's just a vehicle for, and it's cool. Like it's the coolest vehicle. It's like guitar is the sports car of instruments,
Right.
especially electric guitar, but I want it to serve a bigger purpose. And my goal is to not let my connection with people stop with other guitar players. Like I want to connect with people that don't play guitar, right?
Yep.
You look at the greats, and they transcended what that meant, right? Like Carlos Santana, Jeff Beck. Obviously it's easy to talk about Jeff Beck, but like he transcended what it meant to be an instrumental guitarist because he's pop culture. Like he's Johnny Depp's favorite guitar player. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it got bigger than them being a hey, I play fast or whatever. And
Right.
no slight, towards people that play fast. I like to play fast too. But it's got to serve a greater purpose.
I get it. You did Rooster by Alice in Chains,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure what to expect, and I really liked it. People kill me for this. I'm not a big Alice in Chains fan, but I think you really did the song justice and made it a little bit more upbeat than the original. Is
Yeah,
that
it's funny.
possible? I mean, I don't think it was as dark.
From a
Your version wasn't
metric.
as dark as the real one, and I really liked it more.
Well, I appreciate that. There's several points of music nerdum in there that's kind of fun. It's the same exact tempo as the original.
Mhm.
The only difference is Jerry and those guys were tuned a half step down. And I
Oh,
originally went to record the song a half step down, and then I realized I would be touring a lot, playing it live, and I didn't
mhm.
want to bring one extra guitar
Right.
for that. So I just played it in the hand position that Jerry plays it in. Um, and
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
but
fascinating.
it's just
Yeah,
tuned
what
up
a
a half
difference it
step.
made. What a difference it really made.
Yeah, it is interesting. The other thing that I did was at the top of the tune, Jerry starts it off with a clean electric, kind of some chorusy, kind of flangey
Yeah.
things on there. And I used 12-string acoustics, right? I wanted it to start really like front porch sounding with those strums and grow into the mega thing. So the lyrical content of Rooster is, obviously about Jerry's dad in Vietnam. And with the 60s being such a tumultuous time, there was also a lot of really beautiful music happening, Hendrix and stuff. So I thought it would be really cool. Lane had that really piercing kind of sound in his voice. And this goes back to studying singers, right? I thought it'd be cool to blend like the Hendrix Jeff Beck thing to emulate that. And I used like a octave fuzz to kind of simulate Hendrix's old Octavia kind of thing, which is, synonymous with the way his guitar sound. And the other thing that I wanted to do was with the arrangement, combine Jerry's vocal line and Lane's vocal line into one single guitar part. There's not overdubs like the rhythm guitars are being the rhythm guitars, but the lead guitar is just one guitar part that's changing all the chord voicings to be both singers at the same time. And this all comes back full circle to what I was saying. This wasn't planned to be on the record. Like
Mhm.
Rooster was not planned to be on the record. It was something that me and the boys started putting in our live show to connect with the wives and girlfriends of the
That's
guys that
right.
were
That's right.
coming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like we do an instrumental show of all original stuff. Only other guitar players know it, right? So
Right.
we started interjecting covers, whether it be like an old Robin Trower tune or a Zeppelin tune, and we would mutate them to fit what we were doing and be instrumental tunes. Well, I work really close with the Shiprocked guys. It's a big cruise with all the rock stars on it,
Yep.
and I'm one of the musical directors for their Stowaways thing. And
Stowaways.
on my on my set that I would do a couple of shows of my solo stuff on the cruise, and on one of the sets we were like, hey, let's do Rooster, we'll work it up, it'll be cool. By the time we got to the first chorus on the cruise, there was 1,000 people singing louder than we were playing. It was, and so we all just were like, well, this is now bigger than we thought it would be. We thought it'd just be like a cool love letter to the audience.
Right.
It's
Right.
like,
Right.
we like this song, we know you like this song, we'll try to do it some justice. And it ended up being the focal point for, one of the main focal points, anchor points of the record. And I'm not really a guy that does covers, so that's kind of ironic that it's there. But shout out to Jerry for writing such a beautiful song. It really is a beautiful melody. And from a music theory nerd standpoint, you've got a B flat. Like if you're playing in standard, you got a B flat on one chord and an A natural on the other. So you have this third that keeps wiggling back and forth that makes it really haunting, and it's a great song. So my job when I was recording it, we were in the studio, both recording the session and doing the music video. And my mission statement was I was like, guys, this is greatness. Our job is just not to F it up. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to do anything. We're not trying to superimpose my agenda over top of this tune. We just need to be a conduit for a great song. Just let the song do its thing. Let the tones do their thing, and just be a good conduit for a great vehicle for a great song. Oftentimes when people go to covers, they start trying to put too much of their own thing into them, and they kind of butcher what the original statement is, right?
I agree. And just to clarify my comment, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. So I was a big glam metal, hard rock, commercial rock. So when Alice in Chains came along with the grunge, I was not there. I was, still carrying on to that. So being not a big fan, that's the rationale for that. But I do
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
music. So yeah, I just want to clarify to all of you and to all the people out there so I don't get hate mail.
Oh, you're getting hate mail. Like, if you're on the internet, you're getting a comment that
I'm
says
getting
this
a
guy's
comment. Yeah.
stupid. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't like Alice in Chains. Who doesn't like Alice in Chains?
Yeah.
But
It's
I
funny.
know their hits. I know their hits,
Right. When I was in high school, that was on that stuff was on the radio. Child of the '80s, and I was in junior high and stuff in the '90s, and when it was on the radio, I was more concerned with playing bluegrass mandolin than I was anything else. It just kind of I came back around later in life and was like, God, a lot of these Stone Temple Pilots songs, and
Yeah.
ironically, they weren't Guitar Hero kind of bands. They were like the anti-hero. But ironically, the songs are written so well that they just make great instrumental songs.
That's
Like
right.
one
That's
of
true.
the another
The
tune
same
that we
goes for if you could play it on acoustic guitar and it sounds good on acoustic guitar, then it's a great song too. You don't
it's a
need all
great,
that.
yeah. Again, it's
That's
just
right.
look at Stevie Ray doing Little Wing.
Yeah.
It's just like play the song, man. The song is great. Just play the song, and it's great.
You alluded to this earlier on in the conversation of the instrumentation on the album. What song has the most layered guitars on it? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in all these songs, as you mentioned earlier.
Oh. Maybe the opening track, Shoot the Sun Down. And there's a caveat to that. I'm going to say if you allow me to count baritone guitars in addition to standard guitars.
Of course, yeah.
There would be Shoot the Sun Down, because that thing has baritones everywhere and an acoustic in there somewhere, and there's like a million electric guitars. Now, as far as layering, there was a big when I was saying earlier that this album is a passion project. I didn't want to use any plugins. So for those listening out there, understand what I mean by plug-in. It's a software instrument where I would play it on a keyboard and it would sound like strings, for instance, right? So there's no fake quote unquote instruments on the record. And you might not gather that that's a big deal until you get to the song Cherry Blossoms, and it's a full string arrangement with orchestration and everything. There's actually, I think it was 104 tracks on that song. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Viola 1 and 2, violin, cello. It was layered. I actually used a guy who did the music and the production for the video game Elden Ring to play some ancient Asian instruments on that. So he was playing shakuhachi and koto, and they're just baby little textures that a lot of people would just use a software plug-in for. But I was like, hey man, this is my love letter. I can't
Cheat it.
I can't cheat it. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be difficult. But we got to do it the right way. It's like, and if nothing else, moving forward, I have been experimenting in my current state with software instruments. it allows me to have a gratitude for that because I know how hard it is to do it with the real instruments, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was the tune that I wrote for my dad and my granddad.
I was wondering the same now that I'm talking with you about the history of you putting this together. Storms and Sparrows was my favorite track. Was that a song about your dad or your grandfather?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this DNA. So my granddad actually got me started playing music when I was like 5 years old. So anytime I pick up an instrument and play a chord, it's my granddad's voice.
Yes. Wow.
But my father's connection was about, he didn't play music. Like that dude couldn't play the radio. Like it's on, well, we connected through cars. We were both big automotive nuts. And you can see behind me, I've got a checkerboard Telecaster back there.
Oh yeah, I see it.
I'm such a gearhead, and I love cars. So there's tunes that kind of evoke that spirit. Like a song like Copperhead is very much like that ZZ Top driving down a highway kind of song that I think Dad would like. The song Storms and Sparrows was kind of written from you said you were a fan of the 80s and stuff. I'm a mega Van Halen fan, and I really love the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge and Balance eras. I know Van Halen 1, 2, 84, Fair Warning. Right? Like, yes, I like pizza. You know what I mean? It's that's like the thing that everybody likes, right? But it's true, right? Like, who doesn't like Van Halen 1, right? Like, but like, there's a lot of magic on those Van Halen records, specifically those two, that Carnal Knowledge and that Balance record.
I agree.
And so when I was writing Storms and Sparrows, it was actually mostly inspired by that kind of thing that like you would hear Ed do on piano, like Right Now or something like that. And you can kind of hear it because at the middle of the tune, it's got like, we were laughing in the studio. The engineer that I was working with is actually a great producer. His name's Travis Wyrick, but he was just engineering for me that day. And he just turns around when we started tracking that riff. He's like, "Could you be any more Van Hagar?" And I was like, "Man, it's great, So it definitely is from that same school of that West Coast. Steve and Steve Lukather and Ed, and the front of the tune is more ballad-esque, right? It's got a little more haunting thing going on. It's a little more inspired by the Dan Huff Landau thing, and it's I think the thing that ties the darkness of the album together is just a lot of the chord progression, chord choice is very minor. It's a very dark record.
You talked about so many singers and loving singers. What made you go into instrumental guitar versus having a singer and writing songs with lyrics?
I do write songs with lyrics, but the good Lord didn't bless me with a good voice.
Me neither.
So I had to
He
do
blessed
what
me with guitar talents either. So yeah, I'm with you, man. Like you have.
That's the thing. Now, I do write songs, quote unquote, songs with lyrics. And I write them with oftentimes with my project, the Kennedy Wood Band, with Dave Kennedy. We were right there before COVID. We were touring and a lot of things were popping off, and then COVID just brought everything to a screeching halt. Mm-hmm. So this record was me in my studio, and it's like I was using the things that I know how to use, and
not using the thing you didn't know how to
singing
use.
Is not it. Right. But yeah, I do a lot of writing. I actually do enjoy writing, and I do enjoy writing lyrics on my record called Between the Truth and the Lie. The acoustic side of the record is a lot of songs that I wrote that I would have guest singers on.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
But that's 2 records ago.
Yeah, I just got turned on to you, so I'm going to go back now and research some of your albums and other music.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was a fascinating interview. And I have a favor, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. Could you pull out the Wolfgang guitar and give me a little pound cake on the way out for this interview? That'd be awesome.
So, right, I was, let's see if I can get it.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you had it with you when you first came on Zoom.
Yeah. So this is like the whole pound cake, right? That kind of era.
That is awesome. Awesome. Thank you so
All
much
right,
for
brother.
playing that. And thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you, my friend. I'll talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Heavy metal rock.
Global mind.